trying to get it right. I'm not really sure. Alright, hold on. Here we go. Let's do this. Oh, no. Hey Jeff, how you doing? I'm trying to pull this up on my other screen over here so I can see what it looks like. Oh, it's Halloween, so they got a Halloween themed thing. Alright. Turn that volume down a little bit. Library. Alright. Still trying to figure out how I get this live over there. Probably got to switch to a different account. But let me go up here. Anyway, I can't figure that out right now. So, I'm doing a spatula. It's just a one-piece spatula. I see a lot of guys do spatulas where they rivet on a piece of sheet metal. Over last weekend, I was at a demonstration, and the guy was doing 18th century cooking utensils. So he made a spatula and a fork and a spoon, and the old-fashioned way. One of the things that I really got a kick out of was he necked down the bar to make the blade and stuff, and he did it all without using the guillotine tool. So I've been practicing that. Not very much, but by just using just the hammer, coming in and hitting. Right where you want without damaging your corners. It is just a good exercise in hammer control. Like right there, I just mushed it. You can see I'm starting to narrow that down without using a spring fuller or a guillotine tool. This is just with the hammer. Now, like I said, it's an excellent practice for learning your hammer control and hitting right where you want to. And then there's going to be some spreading and a lot of drawing out. I put a mark at 3 inches. And left 3 inches. This is quartered by 1. I left 3 inches for the blade, and then I'll probably take 4 inches for the handle. The other thing I noticed was he pulled it out. Almost every time he pulled it out, it was at or near welding. You can see it's just drawn out. It's going to take a few heats. Still going. Alright. So yeah, like I said, after watching him do one, and he's way better than I am. The guy I was watching and demonstrating was Steve Bankowski. He used to work at Colonial Williamsburg. But you know, hammering 8 hours a day, 5 days a week for 30 years or so. He's got excellent hammer control. But you can see I'm bringing this down. Bringing it right down with just the hammer. I haven't, you know, I didn't use a guillotine or a spring fuller. I just bought a new guillotine tool too. What's up, Alexis? I was gonna send that Ray Downing there an invite, but wasn't sure how. Still going. Like I said, just takes a few heats, but and there was a lot of old examples and so, you know, I wish I knew how to use this to find out how many viewers I had. So you can see I got that getting down there pretty thin. Shooting for around 1/4 inch. But I'm going to go up and start spreading my spatula down before I get too much farther. We are at like 4. 4! Okay. 1. That's me, Lexus, Jeff, and one other person, I guess. Must be I got a lurker. Is it Tim Lilly? And I don't expect too many people to be watching because I just popped on and I don't regularly stream. The other thing he stressed was when you're spreading out, try to stay in the center and get it really thin. Before you start working to the sides. So you can see I'm starting to fill that right in the center. And I'll just keep eating it because No sense in working harder than I have to. I switched to just an old hammer, old cross peen, and you only have 19 subscribers. Woo! A whole 19. I never was going to be a real big name in blacksmithing on YouTube or any of them anyway, so. But yeah, I watched Steve up in a little town called Madrid, New York. It's about 2 hours north of me. And he was at our club's all-state meeting. And I like this demo. You can see I'm starting to get some width to it. I suppose if I hold it like this, maybe you can see where it's starting to get thinner in the center, but I'm leaving the material on the sides. But yeah, he was giving the demo and doing the demo up in this little town called Madrid, about 2 hours north of me. And while he was doing the demo, he said that he was going to be doing a class about an hour and a half east of me the next following weekend. So while I was watching the demo, I got right on and, you know, reserved a spot in the class. Then when I got home, I saw that it was going to be a two-part forging and making and using utensils for cooking. So I signed myself up for a forging and cooking class, unknowingly. Wider. You can see it's real thin in the center, but I've still got meat on both sides. Woo! So how's life there in down under? I'm really itchy. So if you see me scratching my head, it's because I had to stop taking my antihistamines for 2 weeks so that I could get some blood work done. See, it's starting to spread right out. Getting a little width there. He was taking them down to very consistently 1/16 of an inch thick. And I may end up grabbing a heavier hammer to help me do a little bit of work getting that down after I get it spread, getting it flattened out. He didn't do that, but he's been hammering every day for 40 years, so. see how it's just spreading out. This one I may have gotten too thin right in the center, and it may end up splitting on me. I'll have to see. No big deal. If it does, I'll just start over. I know how bad you guys want to see that, making that shoulder without using the guillotine tool. Yeah, right there, it's starting to split. I don't know. Should be able to see it on the camera. So I'm going to cut that up and start over. None of us was in a big hurry anyway. I know. Drop back down to that other hammer. Yeah, I just can't swing them big hammers like I used to. The other thing Steve pointed out too was that he does it all with 1018 cold rolled instead of regular hot rolled mild steel, which could be 1018, could be 836. But he specifically uses the 1018 cold rolled. And I know that when I tried a piece of his, I was able to get it down to a real fine point without it splitting. I mean, I got it down way finer than I normally go without it splitting, so. All right. So, all right. Try this again. I used to be able to put the stream over on that TV and watch it while I was doing it, watching it live, but I can't remember how I did it. I almost think I had to sign in on a different account so that I could watch mine. Alright, so I'm going to start out and just make the end of that bar nice and flat again. All I did was just took the chamfer off it that the cutter left. I'll go back in, take a heat on it, and I'll put a mark about 3 inches. Which is just a little bit less than the width of my anvil face. I'll be able to just hold the piece on my anvil and measure it, go over it, the hot cut with a couple notches. Alright, I just got a little notch in the side. I don't know if you can see it. That's going to let me know where I want to start necking that down. And then, pretty much the hardest part, for me anyway, the hardest part is getting that step in there without using the swedge, either a spring swedge or a fuller, or a smithing magician. See, I starting to get it in. Now he's been doing it so long that he could do it almost swinging, you know, full power and still had the hammer control to where he could hit where he wanted to every time. And he didn't have to use the peen. I found it easier to use the peen. Still going. Puts more water back in that bucket. Woo. As you guys can see, the shop is an absolute pigsty. I got this press up here where my gas forges usually sit because I just never use gas forges anymore, but to be honest with you, I don't ever use the press anymore either. One of the other things that I did notice a lot was partway through I kind of stopped looking at what the material was doing and started watching his hammer. And I could see that he was like holding his hammer at a pretty aggressive angle and digging that corner right in, using that corner to draw out. And he was, you know, he's hitting down like this instead of flat. Or he'll tip it like this and push that way. Maybe I'll get this down. I won't do the stem down as far as I did before I start spreading it. That way if I mess it up, I'm not as far into it. You can see I'm knocking that down, and I haven't used the tool. I'm going to take one more heat, and I'm going to try to center that because it's kind of off to one side. I want to get it fixed now before I go any farther. And then I'll start spreading that material out. Now you can see I got it necked down, and I've got it just over 1/4 inch right there. And I've left my material out on the end so that I can go ahead and widen it out to make the spatula blade. I mean, for years and years and years, if I made a spatula, I just welded on a shank, or welded on a piece of steel, or riveted, sorry. So, here you see him. Now see, and nobody's talking. Alright. You go back in and try this again. And we're using a couple of the old traditional, I think they were maybe recreations of the old ones. They weren't the actual old ones. And some of them were really small. They were like 2-inch square. So once again, I'm starting to hammer just in the center. Hola. See, once again, can't follow directions. And this looks like it's still got a lot of heat on that camera, but it don't. I think I like that style of just a basic cross peen hammer, but I think I got to go up to a 3-pound one. And consume a satchel of Richards. Oh, you're so funny. Last time I heard that one, I almost kicked the slats out of my crib. Once again, we're still moving out, spreading it out. Whew. Getting warm in here. I already took the AC out for the winter, so I probably could just take this sweatshirt off, but you know. It's getting wider on that one side. The other thing I'm trying to do is when I come in and I cross peen and I'm pulling it back towards me, I do really well, but I don't do as good when I'm pushing the other side away from me. And I used to just flip the piece and do half from one side and half from the other. But I'm trying to do it all from the one side. I think that was an old picture or video, Jeff. All right, good heat there. So you can see now I've got the one side pulled right out, but the other side I haven't hardly touched yet. Now I'll go and start pulling out the other side. When I get done, it should be about 3 inches wide. I made a couple spoons basically the same way, just by spreading them out, but they're what's called a tasting spoon, and it's a you spread that spoon out to like 3-inch round. Yeah. Lexi, you're something. It begins with an R in Australia. I don't know if retired was the word I was thinking. That should get me canceled. Now I'll start working the other side out. So it's starting to come out pretty good. Suppose I can start flattening it a little bit to see what it's going to look like. You need a MasterCard or Discover. Discover's taken worldwide. Oh yeah, And it's just patience. I'm going to go ahead and start flattening down what I got. And it's going to spread a little bit more in both directions now because of using the flat side of the hammer. Because I don't know if I can stay, I haven't shipped my shop. You can see I'm quite a bit bigger on one side than on the other, and that's just from where I flattened it. And once again, I find myself unintentionally flipping it and working the side closer to me instead of learning how to do the whole thing across. Sometimes when you learn bad habits, they stick with you. And yes, it's Pepsi. Whoa, that's hot. Coming out more. Every heat it gets a little wider and a little smoother. So when will you know if you're going to stay or not? Now in the end, on the one I did last time, I got the same thing. Right at the end, I started to get like a fish mouth, only in that big flat plane, and I ended up having to go back with a cold chisel and just cutting off the rest, and I'm starting to get the same thing here. I'm not worried about being dead straight with that yet because I can still go back and fix it when I make my handle. So you can see right there, I'm starting to get the fish mouth type thing. And I think it's just because I'm going too deep in the beginning when I thin out the center before I start spreading it. And because of that, I don't have any material there to pull out that area in the center. And I'm not gonna lie, I go back and fix my other ones up with, I used a grinder down there, but if I get it close, I suppose I could use a file. It'd be totally traditional, but I'm going to go back a little bit more because I can still see divots in it from my cross beam. So I'm going to keep going till it's nice and smooth. Sometimes it is really nice watching people know what they're doing to it, because Steve would have been probably almost done completely with the whole thing by now. But you can see I'm starting to get some pretty good width. There's my 1-inch bar starting stock. That's probably easily 2.5 inches wide right now. And I'm not sure how well it's going to work with this when they file through. I can start working. Screw what? Filing? I mean, I like to call that machine over there my 2x72 mistake fixer. So that looks kind of like a blob, but I'm going to leave it right there for now, because I'm just going to go back and, like I said, I'm going to go back and fix that with the, oh, come on, with the belt grinder. And if I go any farther, I can see that right in the very end of it, right there, I don't know if you can see it, but it's starting to get a little split. So I can go back and grind that out. It only goes about 1/8 of an inch deep. But if I keep working it, I think I'm going to open that split up more. So, let me cool off my handle. Okay. Turn that heat up just a little bit. I think we can all relate. Oh, yeah. the rest of that, I will probably, I'm not gonna lie, I'll probably go to the 2x72 and finish this off, but, I mean, if it was a challenge or something, and then I would go back and file it and do it the right way, if it was supposed to be done with no power tools. But a cold chisel was very traditional. If you got it, you know, if you had a bad spot where it wasn't even or something, or you wanted to just cut a little bit off, it was very traditional. You just take a chisel and cut a little bit off. Most of the time they kind of strive to not have to do that. Alright, so kind of holding it, trying to get it so you can see it, the angle of my hammer. I'm digging that corner right in. You can see it. Then I'll go back and smooth that up. I'm not worried about it. But I do want to dig that corner in and make it draw. Some people use the edge of the anvil, they go over the edge. Some people do it out on the horn. Steve did do it a couple times. He went out and used the horn and, you know, dug his hammer right in like that. But it does make a big difference in how fast your material moves. You can see I'm drawing it right down. I think so far I've probably used maybe 2 inches of material back past the blade. I should have made a mark and chopped it off about 3 inches back, but I'll just wing it. Oh yeah, take it off, oh baby, oh baby. Lexi, you want the link to my OnlyFans page? It's singular, I only have 1 fan. Now this heat, I'm going to go through and I'm going to take that part that I got. Basically, I want a long, about 1/4 inch round there. So I'm going to go through and just kind of size that whole stretch up. It's about 4 inches long or so, maybe 5. And I'm just worried about getting it straight, even, and consistent. You can see that 2-inch or so is just keeps growing in length as it gets smaller. Yeah, and you can see I threw fresh coal right onto the fire. My chimney drafts so well that I don't smoke myself out, so I don't really care. Alright, now I got the end pretty much done. That's closer to the blade. Now I'm going to come back and work the other end that's closer to the handle down until I get it pretty smooth, consistent, 1/4 inch square of the whole length. So what's everybody else been up to? What have you made lately? But yeah, the guy that I was watching demo was, his name was Steve Mankowski. He worked with Peter Ross at Colonial Williamsburg for many, many years. So, and if you know Peter Ross is a stickler. Really should have my other glasses on. You can see it's getting better. I still got a section back here I got to finish. Starting to get hot again. Hunting, Kevin. What are you hunting? Deer, pigs. Sweating. You're the one that went there. You knew it was going to be hot. And you guys are coming into your summer right now, aren't you? other things was that if you were open hearth cooking, then your handles and your tools and stuff would have been a little longer. Almost like a barbecue set. So I don't want it to be really heavy. And I just lost the batteries out of my remote. Now, all right, Jeff, I'll see you around. I really didn't expect anybody to show up to begin with, but I was just goofing off. All right, let me get her down a little more. $100 a bottle. Man. That should be all the reason, you know, to come back. I mean, geez Louise, $100 a bottle. Whew. All right. So now I'm going to go ahead and round up a lot of what I just did. And I try not to wear gloves. So you really stress that you lose a lot of dexterity when you start wearing the gloves. But I pretty much already knew that. I've been kind of avoiding gloves for years. Now I started rounding up. You can see I got about half of it rounded up already. Rounds up a lot faster than it draws out. Of course, it wouldn't take as long to draw out if I started with material that wasn't 1 inch wide. Hey, what's up, Thomas? Yeah, when I was at Quad State, Thomas, I bought a new, well, one of these things. One of these things off of Roy, and you can see I haven't even cut the die yet. But I'm doing this spatula, and I was doing that transition in behind the blade down to like the 1/4 inch by hand with the hammer. Now, rounding that up, left my material out there to make my spatula. And I'll go back and I will file. Yes, I'll take a cold chisel and trim it and then file it to shape. Because if I don't, Thomas will never let me hear the end of it. So, now I think what I'm going to do is go ahead and cut that off. I'm going to leave myself about 2 inches for the handle, because it's 1/4 by 1 now, which is really heavy, so it's going to get, you know, taken down to probably 1/8 of an inch thick, so it's going to grow twice what you start with, roughly, not counting the scale loss. And I'll just eyeball it. I mean, I'm not trying to recreate or copy an original. I'm just goofing around right now. If I was trying to copy an original, I wouldn't do it on a live stream in front of everybody. So, I'll get this cut off and then we'll work on the handle end. And then Thomas can tell me everything I'm doing wrong because he's a professional smith. Alright, so take a couple inches. Balanced right there. Look at that. I got enough left I could make a matching fork, maybe. Now, except the fork, I would start with 3/4 by 1 instead of, or 3/4 by 1/4 instead of 1 by 1/4. See that Alexis Thomas got here, and now I'm dropping everything all over the place, and I'm all nervous, and you know. All right. So now I got to make that handle a little bit longer. Lengthen it out, thin it out, make it about half as thick maybe. Go down to 1/8 inch. I was pretty impressed with some of the old examples I saw where they actually did file work, or they went in and did some chasing and some chisel designs. Just watching have my volume down. Okay, well. Do that. Okay, you get it. We're starting to thin it out and draw it out. I mean, how is he ever going to hear me calling him names and making fun of him if he doesn't turn it off? Playing in my fire, playing in my fire. Turned out. Starting to get my transition in there. Getting a little bit of length on that handle. Still pretty thick. When you look at the old examples, them handles, they did not leave them really thick. They were, I want to say, in between an 1/8 and a 1/16. But then again, the material was really expensive, so. Just keep working it. Gotta get it thinner. It's still too thick. You see, it's just growing. And I'm not in a hurry. You know, I used to worry about people watching getting bored. And I'd rush through it and the quality wouldn't be as good. But I'm kind of, you know, like today I only got a couple people watching. So it's not that big a deal. Knock my corners off here. Alright. There's that. Now we'll make a little finial on the end, and so maybe let me make a finial on the end and bang it back in. So they have kind of a yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm not that worried about hurrying because I can take a couple extra minutes, and if I was actually filing and not using a belt sander, you know, like traditionally, a couple extra minutes of forging really saves you a lot of time filing. Nowadays we don't worry about it too much because we just go over that 2x72 mistake fixer. Tail started there. I don't know how good you can see in that the camera over there with all this in the background. And you can see my mess. It's just everything's a mess right now in my shop. That's going to heat up pretty fast because it's so small. Maybe before I get that tapered down, I'll come in and squish down that other end first. I got it squished down. It's hard to see that. Put a piece of tin or cardboard or something over there. yeah, I cleaned the shop. Right now I did that, and I got a bunch of stuff I bought and put in here that, you know, most of it does belong in here, but it kind of crowded it up too, so. Still just drawing it out, making it longer. And here I can already see I've got a little itty bitty part on there where it's starting to split a little bit. And I was able to take it down a lot smaller without having any of them problems when I was using the 1018 cold roll. And this is just regular hot rolled quarter-by-1. So it's probably, you know, A36. I'm just drawing that out. I want it nice and long so that I can put a nice loop on the end. The fire's got a huge clinker in it. Yeah, I haven't tried that twitch yet, so. Kind of chamfering the edge a little bit of the handle. I'm going to go in and work on that a little bit. Yeah, I'm still working on it. I'm not happy with the way that looks. I got a big bump 3/4 of the way down. I mean, probably if I cooled the end and grabbed it by the spatula, probably have a little more control. Got rid of the tongs, but yeah, it is what it is. And some of it, I was surprised that he got it pretty close, but he said that he goes back and does a lot of straightening and tweaking on it cold after he's done forged in just before he files. Alright, so now I'll go ahead and turn that into a little scroll. Oh, you get Twitch notifications? Yeah, I just started watching that Twitch after that Ray introduced herself at Quad State. She gave me a card, and so I went on and caught her on, but I don't know, she does like 3 shows a week. And it's usually right after I get to work, so I gotta kind of hide if I'm gonna catch any of it. Okay, so kick that off to the side. And I got a bump right in there that I want to try to get rid of before I move on. And it's little details like that that makes your work look better, stand out. So I think to get that spot banged in, probably the easiest way, I'll just go to the vise. I don't have a camera set up on the vise. Fiddling around with these tongs that don't fit very well, I look like somebody else I know. Been watching her stream since. Yeah, I just met her at Quad State. Her and I guess that's her boyfriend or whatever, the kid named Butler. She was all right. She had to interview all the big names like, you know, Brian Brazil and Roy Adams and them guys, but, you know, was too highfalutin to stop by and interview me. So I got a really, really small scroll on there. I don't know, it's so small it's hard to see probably. I'll heat it up, cool that scroll a little bit, bend that around, and make myself a loop for hanging it. Most people would just be like, oh, yeah, good enough, but I'm going to go back and clean that right up and make it as smooth and round and flowing as I can get it. I'm getting there. I'm going to heat it again, tweak it a little more. I want to get it nice and centered on the end of that. Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I know she stopped in and said hi and met Brian and did an interview with him. I actually brought a, yeah, I still don't like it. We're going to heat it again. Luckily, it heats so fast. She talked to Brian and stuff, but I had brought a forge and a couple lamb bowls, and we were all playing next to my camp there for, oh, what was it? Saturday night? See, it's pretty round, it's pretty centered. Yeah, that'll work. So it's pretty round, it's pretty centered, it's pretty flat still. So to put that spatula bend in it, what I'll do is clamp it in the vise, and then just above the vise I'll hit it with the cross peen while I'm holding the top. No, I pulled in and Tim was in a different spot and I couldn't find him. When I pulled in, it was, I drove down once again through the night. I pulled in, it was probably 5 o'clock in the morning when I got there. And I pulled in and I looked, and where I thought he was parked, there was already somebody else next to him. But that wasn't his trailer, it was somebody else's. Okay, so let me move my voice around here. So I'll just drop this in, clamp it down. I'm holding that pretty straight and just giving this a kick. And that'll give me that. And I think it's a little too much. I'll take a little bit out. And that looks pretty good to me. And from here, I'll just go in here and clamp on a few spots to make sure that everything's nice and straight where it's supposed to be straight. Check my plane to see if my handle is on the same plane as the spatula, which it is, but the spatula needs to get kicked off to the side. And I'm just checking to see how everything lines up and if it's straight. This is off just a little bit, so I'm just going to grab it and twist it. And it's ever so slight. Like I twisted it too far. That's not bad. But there you have a one-piece spatula out of a piece of 1/4 by 1. Shut that off. And I may take this one and file it up on the handle. And to be honest with you, I do still have a couple little cross peen marks down here in the spatula. So I may go and just give it a thump or two under the power hammer. I mean, it would be fine if I wasn't at home. That's all it takes just to flatten off the couple little high spots I had. And that handle is down to a pretty fine little point right there. Ready to hang. All right. Anything else? Where's Tommy? Probably left already. A fork and tongs. What do I need tongs for? Oh yeah, I should make a matching fork, but If I was going to do a matching one, I would pay attention to how much material I use for my handle so that I could copy it and end up, if you start with the same material, then you're going to end up with roughly the same material. I mean, you can tell that it wasn't too far off because it didn't take me very long just to file. You can see there where I filed it, and I filed all the way down until I got silver from here to here. And from there to there, it took all my hammer marks out already. And that little bit of filing, because I took the time and made it reasonably nice. Now I can just dip it and go here. Got a little skate, or a little screech. That's that. So I mean, filing, if you get it close, it doesn't take a long time to file. I mean, if you're way off and you're full of hammer marks, then yeah, it's definitely gonna be a project to file. And I can even fix a little while I'm filing. Like if this, where the diamond is, one side's a little higher than the other on the point. So I can come in and take my file and move that down. Then check it and see that they're even now. But yeah, I may end up getting into playing around and filing that out and doing some decorative file work on the side of it, or maybe even some engraving, or because this one really isn't a bad start. It looks pretty good. It would be a good candidate for me to move on to the next step and start doing some draw filing on it and stuff. Yeah, it looks like it's just you and me again, Lexi. at least I still got one groupie. And I don't know if this is going to show up. But you can see there's still a couple dark spots. But like 80% or more is already flat. So it won't take much more filing to get that flat, smooth, and clean. And I can do the same thing all the way down this spine and file it and make this thing look really nice. And that built up quite a bit of heat just filing it. Somewhere I got a coarser file that would make it go faster too. Find it. And they said Mythbusters did a thing testing whether drawing back on the file hurts the file or not. And they said that was a myth. So how you liking Australia? I do remember that. You remember what? I forgot what I said. Oh, the Mythbusters thing. Yeah, I mean, it was when I went to Quad State, you only went with me 1 year, but I went this year and it was definitely more fun than last year. I mean, but how did you like going to Quad State and staying on the ground versus staying at Coffee's house? I mean, yeah, I'm sure Coffee was staying at Coffee Grounds was a good time and everything, but I don't know, it just seems like when you guys, it was more fun without me. No, it was more fun with you. Like I said, last year was a lot more fun than this year was. I mean, this year wasn't horrible, but I didn't have a little spoon. Yeah, I mean, in the fairgrounds you had showers and, you know, I don't know. It was just, it seemed to me like it was just better staying at the fairgrounds. And you guys were at coffees. You guys spent so much time at coffees that you didn't do hardly, you swung by Quad State, you came in, walked around for a couple hours, and then went back to John's. Didn't really see any demos or, not that I watched a whole lot of demos at Quad State. You know, my fire's out anyway. I'll dig some of these big clinkers out, and ooh, she was dirty. I like staying at the fairground though, yeah. Now, so did you learn anything at all tonight? Yeah, and I mean, I imagine that, like, I went back and I saw the videos of the Quad Squad, like some of the years before where there was large groups at coffees. And I imagine that when there was large groups there, it was probably pretty fun. But like the last year, it was just you and Yamas, I think. And if you don't come back, I don't foresee ever seeing Yamas at Quad State again. Well, I think I'm going to call it. There's my. And like I said, I could go in and take a cold chisel and get rid of that fish mouth on the end and make it flat across the end. But I think what I'm going to do is just, yeah, 19 was good with yeah, like I said, it was probably good back before COVID when you had a lot of people there. I took my table off, I gotta put it back on. Yeah, I think I'm gonna maybe try a few more times, see if I can't get that handle a little better before I go in, and then maybe do some chasing or etching, engraving, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, this is starting to get a split right in that little, divot that's in there. There's a little split starting. But, I mean, I'm not worried about it. I just made this one for fun. I'm sure I'll give it to somebody and they'll never even notice that. Split as a big deal. Now that I'm looking at it, it goes like maybe 1/4 of an inch or more in there. That's taking a lot off. Yeah, this is my my ratchet table on this. I keep saying, oh, I gotta make a better one, and I gotta make a better one, and this one still works, so I just never get around to it. yeah, because this has got that little tiny split in that end, I don't know, it's hard to even see it. Everything's backwards in the camera. Right there. But yeah, because this has got that little split, I'm not gonna really worry about doing it very well. This definitely won't be one of the ones that I try doing all the file work and stuff on. I might just put it back in the forge and scale up where I filed and just give it the regular rustic look. But yeah, I'll probably just take that down and give it to one of the reenactors down at the museum that I went and took the class at this weekend. They'll be pretty happy to have that. And I'll just beeswax it or something. Yeah, it works for me. All right. I am going to end this stream, and I'll see you around. Hopefully back in the U.S. someday. You know, even if it is just on a vacation on your terms. See ya.